sun is beating down on the capital city of Cape Town. We're here in South Africa for Formula E's first ever foray in Cape Town. We have a brand new high-speed racetrack set in the shadow of Tabletop Mountain, one of the new 7 modern wonders of nature, and running parallel to the stunning South African coastline and the waterfront. It plays host to the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship this weekend. And wow, we are in for an absolute treat. Undoubtedly, this has to be one of the most glorious locations for a race. And it is, of course, the first time we're racing on the streets of South African soil. And what a way to make their mark. Look at that view. Absolutely stunning. You can see Lion's Head over there on the right. The DHL Stadium, which is where the circuit wraps around, and that coastline that we get to race parallel with. So let's take a look at the calendar so far. We are 25% of the way through. We had our first race in Mexico City, a double header in Diriyah, and a new racetrack, Hyderabad, India. We've had 4 new tracks added to the calendar this season, Cape Town obviously being another one of them. We'll be heading to Sao Paulo in just a couple of weeks' time. And then we'll be finishing the season with a double header in London. So the tracks, the drivers were arriving at the track this morning. There's Pascal Wehrlein, looking good. Stoffel van Dorn, our reigning champion, who has not had a very good season to date. But he'll be looking to make amends. Andre Lotterer, one of the most experienced drivers in the Formula E pit lane, still looking for that win. And Stoffel there getting in his exercise to get started. So here we have the Drivers' Championship. Pascal Wehrlein had an incredibly dominant start to this season. A second place, 2 wins, and a 4th place for him this season leaves him on 80 points. Jake Dennis just behind, 62 points. And then there's an incredible melee. Jean-Eric Verne down to Lucas de Grassi, 13 points behind them. Andre Lotterer in P11 for Avalanche Andretti. And there we have it, Nico Muller. Kelvin van der Linde, home race for him this weekend, looking for some first points. Well, there we have it, just to show how close we are to the coast. So, Teams Championship, this is how it's shaping up. Tag Heuer Porsche with that dominant start of the season, 101 points. A big gap between them. Avalanche Andretti sitting in P2. And then Envision Racing, Neon McLaren, Jaguar TCS Racing in P3, 4 and 5. So, alongside me in the commentary booth, we have Saunders CB, our digital presenter. Saunders, take us through this track.
So yeah, let's have a look. Thanks, Nikki. It's a 12-turn, 2.92-kilometre circuit, one of Formula E's longest ever, and by the looks of it, one of the fastest as well. So it starts at turn 1 with a left-hander into a sweeping set of corners, into the chicane at turn 4, 5 and 6. Near 90 degrees left-hander into the longest straight on this circuit. High speeds will be hit here before a brave overtaking opportunity. Another chicane down at 8 and 9. Massive opportunity here for recouping energy. Another left-hander into 10, back on the speed through 11 and turn 12 into attack mode activation zone. Definitely a bit of drama to be expected here, and that is the end of the circuit.
And what an amazing circuit. I mean, this is a proper high-speed circuit. We cannot wait to see the drivers hit the track today. Let's take a look at the climate. A lovely balmy 28 degrees. The air at the moment is 22. That will get warmer as we go through the day, as the sun starts to beat down on the track, particularly around race time at 4 o'clock this afternoon. But this is the second session of the weekend. We had FP1 yesterday. Eda Mortara doing an absolutely phenomenal job coming out quickest of the session. The first time he's been quickest of the session this season. But the 22 drivers are going to be looking to get in some absolutely critical time today, because as we mentioned, this is a high-speed, fast track. You've got to be really committed to do well here. So running time in these sessions, Saunders, is, I think, more critical than ever. Particularly, it's a new track, it's a level playing field again.
For sure. I mean, in any new circuit, you need to be getting the experience up as quickly as you can. But here, even more so, because it's long, it's fast, so they need to be able to run the energy programs and know, how are they going to be able to hit their targets in a race that is going to be very, very demanding on energy. In terms of the circuit, just to introduce the next person next to me, Naomi. How have you found this? Because you went out on this with the Gen 3 car yesterday.
Just not Naomi, that was the worst introduction ever. Sorry, I think you mean. And joining us alongside us this morning, we have a very special guest, racing driver. This is your hometown, or has been for, I think it was from 4 to 18 years old. Naomi Schiff, welcome.
Thank you so much. No, I'm good. Yeah, you're right, Saunders. I managed to go on track yesterday, and I feel very lucky to have been able to do that. Firstly, my first time driving a Formula E car, so I was really impressed at what the cars can do. But the track definitely is, I mean, I don't really have much to compare it to when it comes to other Formula E tracks from a driving perspective, because I haven't driven them.
Sure.
But it definitely was quite a challenging circuit. I mean, the layout's very, very, very quick. It's quite bumpy as well. And as we saw, on these tracks, first time out, the track can be very dirty. So lots to learn. And as you said, yesterday with the incident that happened on track, all the drivers kind of lost out a bit of time on track. And in such a short 30-minute session, every minute's going to count. So hopefully they have a clean session this morning.
Tell us more about driving the Gen 3 car, though, because that is epic. There's only like a handful of drivers that have ever done that aren't one of these guys,
So
the 22 that we're watching right now. There's Sam Bird, who's trying to make up for a bit of redemption after last time out. But yeah, Naomi, first of all, tell us a bit more about Gen 3.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was amazing. I mean, the cars are clearly very quick. I was very impressed by just how fast the acceleration is in these electric cars. That was, for me, the biggest difference, I would say, from cars that I've driven previously. And that definitely alters the way that you have to drive in terms of, steering angles when exiting corners. When you get on the power, that power comes in a lot quicker. So that definitely changes the way you drive. And I was on track for 3 laps, so I didn't really fully hone in my new technique for driving a Formula E car. But it was a lot of fun. I came out with a big smile on my face, and I definitely, as you say, Nikki, I'm very lucky to have been able to drive one of these cars.
Love it. I mean, one thing we talked about yesterday is something I haven't actually properly thought about before, which was you saying about all the road markings.
Yeah, so I mean, that for me, I haven't driven on a street circuit in quite some time, so it's possibly that too, but there's loads of street markings, as you can see, all over the track. There's obviously a lot of branding and sort of panel boards around the track, and for me, it felt like a little bit of an information overload. And some of the corners, particularly turn 1, I thought was quite tricky in terms of spotting exactly where the corner is. And thankfully, those braking markers were helping me figure it all out.
So just to put that into perspective, it's not just about hitting every apex, every braking zone, recouping energy, talking and translating data back to your team. It's also trying to compute all these road markings in your eye line as well.
100%. And I mean, drivers always need to find little markers on the tracks to, find their turn-in points. So within 3 laps, I wasn't able to do that. So I think that probably is part of the issue as well. I think by the end of this session this morning, the drivers will probably have those markers for themselves, and they won't feel as distracted possibly by everything that's going on the track in terms of distractions on the ground and around the track.
So just looking at what we've seen so far in this session, just under 5 minutes in, Evans has just topped the timings with that Jaguar powertrain. That has been very, very good with 1-lap pace and qualifying so far this season. In fact, the Jaguar powertrains have had more appearances in the qualifying duels than any other powertrain in the championship. Sebastian Buemi, with that same powertrain, has been in every single qualifying duels, which is an incredible achievement. Hard to do.
Absolutely. I mean, it's hard for all of them. I mean, from my experience yesterday, this is clearly a tough competition, and you've got incredible drivers on this grid, and there's a lot to take in. I mean, I thought, okay, there's no gears to deal with, so that should make things easier, but obviously from the energy saving perspective, from everything that they've got to contend with on these tight, narrow street circuits, I mean, as you can see, the track's quite bumpy as well. So yeah, big challenge for everyone out there.
You can see now that these drivers aren't messing around with the session. The lost time that quite a few of them had yesterday because of the incidents, there's already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 drivers that have already done a full power lap just 5 minutes into the session. Usually we see those towards the end of the session as they get their groove and they find their lines and everything. But to see them just coming out of the blocks gunning like this, they want that time. Exactly, Mortara's team radio there saying he's going to push. Obviously, he was the top of the first practice session yesterday. Showed that pace that we saw in Valencia for testing with the Maserati MSG. racing cars, and we haven't really seen since then.
Yeah, I think, you know, from what I felt yesterday on track, this is a track where, yes, the powertrains are obviously going to make some difference, but it's definitely a track that's going to require a lot of confidence. So I think that the drivers themselves will come into play maybe a little bit more here on this track than they maybe did on other tracks this season so far. So, yeah.
Bit of a lock-up and a spin there for Sergio Sette Camara. Coming off the back of his one of his most successful races in Formula E so far, a decent amount of points in India for the Neo team, massively capitalised on all of the drama ahead in the race. And interesting, I was talking to Alex Weed, the team principal of Neo. He was saying that they're very, very aware of their shortcomings when it comes to efficiency this season. They know that really where they're aiming is for the Evo, the Gen 3.5, where they can hopefully get a bit more resource. So the plan now is just to keep maximising that one lap pace, keep getting ticked in the camera, putting in great quality laps, and then just capitalising on anything that happens ahead.
It's so interesting to see. I mean, I wonder, maybe you can let me know how much the difference in terms of one lap pace makes in Formula E, because what we've seen this season so far is that nobody who's qualified on pole position has actually won the race. So how important is that one lap pace?
It is interesting. My school of thought for this season, looking at where we've come from, looking at the top of the championship, you've got Pascal Wehrlein and Jake Dennis, both powered by the same powertrain. All of that success has come in the races. They haven't qualified particularly well at all this season. There we go. Roger Griffiths there, Avalanche Andretti team principal on screen. So what they've had to do is do all the work in the race. So you'd think one lap pace quali starting higher is going to do you some service, but then the Andrettis and the Porsches come flying through the grid with their extra efficiency and they make it even harder. But I think there's a lot of risk in that, and as a driver, surely the further back down the order you start, the more you're going to have to contend with pushing forward.
100%, and also the person in front who's got a clear track has got nothing in front of him to slow him down. So one thing is you've got to get past the guys, but as you're doing that, the leaders are just building a gap between you and them. So of course you want to start front row.
The super interesting story, I think, for this race is what is the gap now between the Porsche powered cars and the Jag powered cars. The Porsches and the Avalanche Andrettis, the Envisions and the Jaguars, because where the Porsches have done incredible work in the races, Jag have been there in quali, bang, 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 every single race, and now they've been up there in the race as well. Sam Bird's had a podium, Nick Cassidy's had a podium, so I think that gap between the two is getting narrower and narrower, and I do feel like this is a very strong opportunity for Jag today.
Well, only time will tell.
Well, yeah, exactly. Look at the times. So there's Mitch Evans, who did a really good job yesterday as well, and obviously Sam Bird was in P2 and FP1. And Sam's right up there. I mean, 2/10 behind Edo Mortara. I think Jackie was saying that the Sector 3 that Maserati were doing yesterday was really strong. So that's what they're really working on during the course of this session. Also Sam Bird, obviously he's looking to make amends after that incident that he had with his teammate last time out in India. And bless him, he held up his hand straight away and apologised. Had a heavy heart, apologising on social media, but is really looking to make up for it today. But he's got a 5-place grid penalty, which is just really rubbing salt in the wound, isn't it, when you've made a mistake? You've paid the price. Obviously, he had a DNF last time out, and yeah, is now going into qualifying later, knowing that he's going to have that 5-place grid penalty.
But then thinking about what we were just talking about, the Jag's efficiency has been there and improving. So starting, let's say he puts it on pole and starts, 5th, 6th, he's going to, they're going to be able to push forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a challenge, as you say. I think this track is a really good one for overtaking. There's a lot of opportunity here. So I think people who are maybe a little bit further down the grid might not suffer too much here, because loads of long straights. But as you say, I mean, it's going to make a difference, because efficiency, as you say, is maybe going to be used like more critical on a track like this today.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a very energy-hungry circuit, and let's not beat around the bush. There are quite a few teams here that have struggled in comparison to the likes of the Porsches and the Jags and the Envisions and Andretti's in efficiency. So yeah, we might see some flying laps by the likes of who's topping the timings at the moment, Maximilian Günther, Stoffel van Dorn, actually kind of share a powertrain-ish, a Stellantis powertrain. But is it going to be the same in the race? Are they going to be able to maintain that pace in the later stages when energy is low? On board here with Jean-Eric Verne, race winner in India. Now, he said himself yesterday that he doesn't expect to be in the same position this weekend. He says it's going to be incredibly challenging. They're aware of their efficiency issues. They're comfortable with the pace. There's definitely been improvements, but they are aware it's going to be a big ask.
Yeah, it's never nice to start a race weekend knowing that you've already maybe not got all the cards on the table to have that real battle with the guys in front. But yeah, I mean, the teams obviously, you know, that's the work that they need to do now, because as you said, especially tracks like this and tracks coming up on the calendar, the efficiency is going to matter so much. So fingers crossed for them that they get it sorted out and maybe make a little bit of progress this weekend as well.
And for a driver like Jean-Eric Verne, so much experience in this championship, I think there isn't a driver on the grid that wouldn't say, I don't like being behind this man, because he can just defend till the cows come home. right until the end of the race, even his 0.01% energy, he will put that car in the best place to make it impossible for overtake. Nick Cassidy experienced that firsthand in India.
And that's a skill that one needs to master, because it isn't as simple as it seems to defend properly, to make your car as wide as possible, because you need to find a way to do that without actually compromising your own lap time, because, you know, as we saw in India, he had quite a lot of pressure coming from behind. So it was about putting his car in the right place, making sure they couldn't take that opportunity to overtake, but at the same time, you know, not holding up the pack and making sure that, you know, he could still take the win in the end.
For sure. And we're looking at Pascal Wehrlein, championship leader at the moment. Hasn't always been there in the qualifying and the one-lap pace. Out of all of the Porsche-powered cars, he has been one of the most consistent qualifiers, but not consistently in the duels where you want to be, giving yourself less to do in the race. So let's see what he can do today. Just looking at the top of the timings at the moment, we've got Maximilian Günther, top of the timings. Just like testing, we saw him dominate there, but hasn't really been in that position since. Stoffel van Dorn, Andre Loscherer, that's very good sign for Porsche-powered Avalanche Andretti there to be up there in the timings. Kelvin van der Linde up there in P4, absolutely love to see it.
We were talking about this yesterday with Kelvin, how actually having the home crowd behind you genuinely does make a difference. I mean, do you remember when Daniel Abt, it was one of his like early days, it was one of his first wins, he had like a double win in Berlin, and it was just phenomenal. And he was saying at the time that the crowd just makes you so relaxed. You come in with such positive energy. And Kelvin yesterday was saying exactly the same thing. He said he'd never been more relaxed coming into a race weekend. And I guess that really changes your psychological approach into a race weekend. And it's already showing. It's fantastic. Naomi, do you think there's an advantage when you're on home soil?
I think it depends how you handle it as a driver. Everyone's slightly different. I think it also definitely adds an element of pressure. So if you like that pressure and if you're hungry for that, then maybe it is an advantage. But otherwise, you never really know, you know. But I can say that, you know, Kelvin is not just a local guy. He's the local hero when it comes to racing at the moment. Him and his brother Sheldon have done phenomenally well to, you know, start their racing careers here in South Africa, but really make something of themselves on an international platform. So locally, those two brothers are very loved. So if he can keep up this performance, I think he'll be making a lot of people happy here.
It's a great story for the van der Linde family this weekend, because you've got, actually, are they both racing today, or is Sheldon racing tomorrow?
Sheldon, I believe, is racing tomorrow in the 9-hour in Kailami.
Yeah,
so,
and I think Kelvin was saying that the parents have split.
Yeah, so his mom's, from what I understand, staying at Kailami, and his dad's going to be here in Cape Town. So
yeah, God, they must be two proud parents, my word.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've had that issue more than once in their careers. But yeah, it's great to see, you know, both of them doing so well, and a bit of a local hero. So hopefully he has a great weekend this weekend.
Just looking on board now with Jake Hughes. Now, I'm not convinced that this guy's even a rookie. I think he's just conning us all, because he's obviously had a lot of practice behind the scenes with the Mercedes EQ team before McLaren. A lot of practice. He was always the first in the simulator, doing days of work before Stoff and Nick de Vries at the time were getting in. And he's just been exceptional this season. You know, to pick up Formula E racing and the Gen 3 car as quick as he has, it's been amazing.
He's definitely been the best rookie performer that we've ever seen, you know, properly hit the ground running. And I'm so pleased with him, because I think before the start of the season, there were a lot of question marks over why Neil McLaren had made that decision, getting him in the driver's seat. And as you say, he's done phenomenally well. I think it's just whether he can then maintain that track position during the course of the race. We've seen those phenomenal qualifying performances. There's Dan tipped on the radio. Did he actually say anything there?
It sounded windy.
You know, starting on, I think he had a third, a second, and then his first pole position in Diriyah. So he just needs to manage to maintain that position during the course of the race, I think, which is something that McLaren have been really working on.
So just looking at the top 4 in the timings right now, we've got René Rast, or René Fast, because he just seems to be able to maximise performance out of Formula E cars anytime he sets in one. Maximilian Günther, Stoffel van Dorn, Sam Bird and Andre Lostra. Now I would say, Nikki, tell me if you agree with this, Sam Bird is probably the only expected one to be there at this point.
Oh, well, I mean...
Maybe René as well.
I was just about to say René Rast. And actually, but Max, I mean, the Maserati guys yesterday were doing really well. And I think this could be a track that really suits them. You know, well, again, we were talking earlier about how the drivers have to be committed, but you're only going to be committed if you've got confidence. And both of them were saying yesterday that they really do feel very confident with the car. So that could be why they're up there. Stoffel van Dorn, it's great to see him there because he's had a bit of a torrid season so far. I mean, hardly any points for the championship, well, the defending championship leader from last year. And then Sam Bird, yeah, P4. But all is to play for still. It's still early days, 13 minutes left of FP2. And I'm sure these times are going to get faster.
Naomi, I've got a question.
Okay, go for
So,
it.
driver perspective, when you're trying to, in Formula E, when it's, you've got the 1 lap pace here, trying to maximise lap time here in this session, then it's all about efficiency in the race session. What can be done on the car in terms of setup to kind of generically to maximise? Is it balance? Is it on a fast circuit like this? Is it all about making sure the car's stable enough? Is it about minimum speed?
In terms of?
Just maximising lap time.
Definitely. I mean, it's all about balance, and especially on a track like this, which is not going to have much grip. It's all about giving that driver confidence by giving them a balanced car that they can predict. There's no room for error on street circuits, so you want to know what your car's going to do. You want it to be predictable, but you know, predictability and comfort in a car also doesn't necessarily make a fast car. So sometimes you need to, you know, find the balance between making the car quick and making the car comfortable for the driver to have that confidence.
Okay, so that's what I find interesting about the lap times we've seen from the Porsche-powered cars, because it's always been slightly off the pace of the faster cars, but then in the race they seem to manage to consistently put in the good laps because of the efficiency. So how, I mean, is it sort of like a trade-off, one or the other?
Definitely. So, you know, on a quali lap, the car will probably be a little bit less balanced and a little bit more, as I said, on the edge. And then for the race, they'll take that back a little bit, make it more comfortable, make sure that the drivers aren't fighting the car, because you've got tyre wear, you've got tyre temperatures, you've got loads of things that you've got to consider in a more, you know, long distance setting.
Tyre is actually very interesting here as well, Nikki, because I was speaking to the drivers yesterday. They were saying how on a circuit like this, that's fast, energy hungry, the tyres are going to be getting into that sweet spot, and then it's going to be hard to keep them in there with the longevity.
Let's have a look about Sebastian Buemi's lap at the moment, because he is obviously one of the drivers who really is disadvantaged during the course of this session. He had a massive crash yesterday going into the side of, I think, what was it, turn 9. A huge amount of damage done to the right-hand side of his car. The guys worked super fast overnight and has got him back on track. And that's a P5. That's a really good lap time, considering he didn't do the session yesterday.
Absolutely. Fastest in the 2 first sectors as well, Sector 1 and Sector 2. A couple tenths behind on, or actually even less than that on Sector 3. So I think if he puts another full power lap in, I think he might be up there. We could see Buemi having a full bounce back from yesterday.
I might be mistaken, but it looked like he may have had a little bit of traffic towards the end of his lap, so that might have been what affected his Sector 3. But yeah, super impressive to see him, you know, up at the top of the times there. Considering everything that happened yesterday, we've been talking about confidence and, you know, bouncing back from something like that after missing the entire session, after having made that mistake, is impressive.
So just, sorry, Nick, just looking at the top of the standings there, we were talking about JQ's Ducati Radio. Sounds windy again. Jake Hughes up there in P3.
It does get quite windy here in Cape Town. How are you supposed to know, Naomi, if the wind's going to die down over the course of the day, or is it just going to be a blustery day all day?
Yeah, Cape Town is a very, very windy city. That is very true. But I think that the drivers should be okay where they are. It looks like there's lots of stuff barricading them from the wind. So.
And actually, considering how close we are to the sea and the sand. I mean, there you go. There's actually barely any sand on the track at all. It's really quite clean. Well, although I suppose any track is clean in comparison to India, Hyderabad, where we were a couple of weeks ago, which was the dustiest track I think I've ever seen.
Strong representation of the Nissan powertrain in the top 7 there. You've got all four Nissan-powered cars in the top 7 in the timers right now.
Very nice indeed. Sasha Venestrass, he's having an absolute blinder of a weekend so far as well. He did a phenomenal job yesterday and was really quite consistent in terms of being towards the top of the timings. He finished P3, so to put in a 1 minute 9.022, things are turning around for him.
Giving Hughes a run for his money on the best rookie title, isn't he?
Oh, well, yeah, well.
Not in the points.
I was going to say, he's only had a couple of points so far. He's had 1 points finish that was in Diriyah, the second race in Diriyah, finishing P8. So Jake's still a bit on him. He's got 27 points, 7th in the championship at the moment. But what I love is how close the championship is. I mean, I know Pascal Verland's got this massive lead of 80 points. Jake Dennis behind him with 62. And then there is such a tight margin between Jean-Eric Verne in 3rd, Lucas Acrassi down in 10th. There's 13 points separating those 8 drivers. Phenomenal, but we've still got a long way to go. Only 25% in to the season so far. This is round 5 of round 16, so lots to play for, but it has been a dominant start for Pascal Wehrlein. So who is that slowing on track there?
That's Sam Bird, I believe.
Right, so Sam's just given himself a bit of space to make sure he avoids any traffic in front, and now he's on a hot lap. So this is going to be exciting, actually. What can Sam Bird do? Can he make amends from last time out and continue his performance from yesterday in an FP1? Looking good so far.
Up until now, Sam Bird's actually yet to put in a full power lap, a full 350 kilowatt lap. So, if he's already in P8 without doing that, and now he's on a hot lap, I'm expecting good things here. Don't let us down, Sam.
You have just done the
curse!
Can't believe you said
Purple
that.
sector 1.
Nice, brilliant. 4/10 down. Very nice indeed.
Maybe this is his form of redemption. I think it's never nice for a driver to have a situation like he had out in India. Team was obviously quite disappointed, and I'm sure he obviously didn't mean to do it. You could see that it was just slightly miscalculated late braking, and yeah, ran into his teammate, unfortunately. But you know, he'll come into this weekend with his tail between his legs, and he's going to want to, you know, rectify that and get out the doghouse.
For sure. Yeah, it's got the pleasure of having both mum and dad here watching. I had the pleasure of sitting next to them on the plane out here.
Yeah,
two
hello, Di.
very proud parents.
What's Sam's dad called? Mr. Bird, sorry. That is phenomenal. Sam Bird, quickest time of the session there with a 1 minute 8.55. Looking strong, looking very strong indeed, but we do still have 6 minutes to go and everyone is putting in their hot lap, so let's see if he can hold on to that position.
Mitch Evans, just looking down, he's all the way down in P20. He is yet to put in a full 350 power lap. So I expect that to change, especially as about 6 minutes left of the session. There's still some fast laps to come in, because I know this is just practice, but in quali, if you're Sam Bird and you're doing the same, you really want Evans up there to help you out, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it was a really strong start for Jaguar out in India, but yeah, let's take a look at Mitch Evans's hot lap. Could he be faster than his teammate Sam Bird? Now that would ruffle some feathers, but also I suppose make amends for the fact that Sam took him out last time. Right, let's see how he does. Sector 1, okay, not quite on the pace there. 4/10 slower than Sam's lap. But yeah, overall though, it has been a strong start for Jaguar Racing. Jaguar TCS Racing.
I'm just mesmerised actually, just looking how bumpy the circuit is. The suspension on the front tyres, we're working overtime at the moment.
Yeah, there's a particularly, you might see it coming up here, just before turn 11. There's quite a big bump. There it is.
I absolutely love these new onboard angles that we have this season.
Well, there we are, second quickest. So if Evans hadn't lost 4/10 on Sam's time in the first sector, he actually would have been quicker. So he had a really blinding sector 2, sector 3. So that's a fantastic result for both Sam Bird and Mitch Evans there.
I'm interested in what do Bird and Evans know that Buemi and Cassidy in the same powertrain don't? Because that is two very impressive laps and right on the money, I think, where you'd expect them to be on the performances in one lap pace that we've seen so far.
Talking about camera angles, also that the camera that they've now got following some of the team principles, right in your face, isn't it? You know, you really don't want to sneeze on camera.
They're always there in the right
Something
moments
might go
as well.
horribly wrong. Yeah. But it's brilliant. It really captures every emotion, every moment.
A little bit of frustration there. Bit of a traditional driver's hand wave from Lucas de Grassi. He's obviously down in 22nd right now with only 3 minutes left on the clock. So.
Yeah, unfortunately a bit of traffic there, which again, it just shows maybe that's a bit of experience. I don't know. The fact that obviously when Sam slowed to make sure that there was no traffic ahead of him. Yeah, I mean, frustrations there from Van der Linde.
Not a great showing of the Mahindra powertrain at the moment, making up the bottom 4 timings. I'm sure there's a little bit more time in there somewhere if they get a chance to do another lap in these last 3 minutes, but yeah, not exactly where they'd want to be.
Yeah, because it was a flying start from Lucas de Grassi at the start of the season with his podium in Mexico. Haven't seen him get any points since then. So, replay, Oliver Rowland, or no? Let's have a look, what's happening here?
That tricky turn 1, I told you guys about that turn 1.
What is it? What is it that makes it difficult?
It's just hard to pinpoint exactly where to brake, and I think the entry point to the corner is so tight that if you feel that you've miscalculated, it probably is just better to use the runoff and be safe.
Well, this is a big lap for Andre Lotterer because, you know, him and Dennis down in 17, 18. Yes, their one-lap pace qualifying hasn't been great, but it hasn't been that worrying, let's say, where it is at the moment. So how are they doing? You know, Dennis hasn't done a full power lap yet. Lotterer has. On board with Lotterer now. Just done his best first sector. Can he improve on that? Because I know this is not the sort of showing of pace they'd want to be seeing in the session before qualifying.
Getting out of the way.
Bit of a change at the top now as well. Eduardo Mortara up there with the MSG Racing car. And Dan Ticktum, once again, showing what he can do in a one-lap pace. Sometimes I think we're all just living in a Ticktum world.
Someone put their money on Ticktum yesterday.
Track this time to get in its way. What might we have on the seagulls, maybe?
Possibly.
Seagull on the track?
Possibly, yes. But you said it earlier, maybe some sand, because if the wind does pick up, that is something that could be a little bit of an issue.
Okay, and Edo Mortara. So, this is interesting with just over 1 minute to go. It's Edo Mortara, Dan Ticktum, Mitch Evans, Sam Bird and Stoffel van Doorn, the top 5 in FP2. Really changing things up. What can the McLaren guys do? I love this, though, how you can really see just how this is a proper street circuit right in the centre of town. You've got the traffic there on the right-hand side. They're all probably cursing us as they sit in their traffic. But this is a sellout show. I think, yeah, over between 20 and 30,000 people coming this weekend. There were queues at 7 a.m. this morning. Right, this is exciting. So Cassidy has just on quickest in Sector 1, but what can his teammate Sebastian Buemi do?
Now this is going to be interesting. If the Envisions can put in some good laps here and get up there closer to the likes of the shared powertrain, Evans and Bird. Another quick sector from Nick Cassidy here. The guy is very quick Nick, but he also has had very bad luck with traffic. Oh, yellow flag is not going to help things at all for Nick Cassidy, but was it before or after where he is? He's gone top.
Nice, well done. Okay, well, lucky the yellow flag didn't cause any issues in his lap. We'll have to find out where that is.
Has affected Sebastian Buemi. There we go, end of the session. Nick Cassidy on top. That is an incredibly good display of a Jaguar powertrain right there.
Which just goes to show that he can carry that momentum in. I mean, he had a fantastic run out in Hyderabad with his first podium, finishing in P2. And that's going to be a massive boost of confidence. Coming into today, showing the team that it wasn't just a stroke of luck, but in fact, that performance is carrying on into this new high-speed, rather bumpy track here in Cape Town.
And off the back of that podium as well for Cassidy in India, this is going to a real boost of confidence now for the Envision team and also for all the Jaguar-powered cars who've looked strong and increasingly stronger in the race. So if he can maintain this pace, get in a good position after qualifying, I think good things could come from them.
Absolutely. So we've got 3 Jaguar powertrains in the top 5 from that session. But how much can we really read into free practice 2? Because ultimately it all comes down to qualifying, which is where they have to, perfect it into 1 lap. And then get through to the duels.
Must point out, it's still another great performance from Edo Motaro because...
Have a listen to this one. So this is Lucas de Grassi.
Oh, this is the moment, the traffic moment, I think. We're about to
the
see
wave
some
of the
gestures.
hand. Here it is. Here it comes. There you go.
I'm in quali mode and this who's it is in front?
Van der Linde.
Not
My
happy
lap,
there.
Van der Linde.
Oh dear. Well, fair enough. I'm sure we all feel the same when traffic cuts us up in front of us. It's slightly ruined his lap there, so poor Lucas de Grassi struggling with traffic ahead and frustrations on the radio.
So this practice starts now they're doing. Very interestingly, I've seen a few of the drivers complaining about the right side of the grid really not being ideal because of manhole covers and a few other things. So definitely hoping to be on the left side of the grid. So let's see if this is noticeable from the practice starts. Is it a grip thing? Is it a traction thing? What might manhole covers and other kind of things cause challenges when it comes to race start?
I mean, you just don't want to add any risk to your start procedure, so that just adds another element to think about and to possibly be a concern. From a grip perspective, I can't really tell you what that might make as a difference, but it can make that difference. So yeah, I would also not want to be on that side of the grid, to be honest.
Also knowing that obviously FP1, FP2, it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but how much confidence does it give you when you are at the top of the timings going into qualifying?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it doesn't mean anything. I think you can't read too far into it, but definitely, you know, when you have those quicker laps, you have more relevant data to look back at preparing for the sessions. You've got such a back-to-back day today, so you want to do it when it counts, and the sooner you can do that out the gates, then you've got less work to do in the other sessions. But I was just going to say earlier, before we looked at that onboard with de Grassi, that Edo Motaro seems to have had another fantastic session. He's second and only 3/10 behind Cassidy with no full power lap. So that's something to look into for later today.
That is interesting, and I think that comes down to controlling traction and how different teams are having different levels of success with dealing with the sheer power that comes with this Gen 3 car. Because you know it's not like a combustion vehicle. There's like a build-up of power. It's instant. The torque is there. As we end the session.
We do indeed, and on that note, let's take a look at the final results for this session. I love that view though, what a shot. So it's Nick Cassidy, looking very happy in that photo. Nick Cassidy for Envision Racing with a 1:08.118. Edo Motaro, who was quickest last time out, is just behind him, 3/10 slower. Dan Ticktum is back towards the top in P3. Mitch Evans-Samba, the 2 Jaguars, Stoffel Van Dorn, our reigning champ for DS Penske in P6. Antonio Felix Costa P7, Max Günther, Pascal Wehrlein and Sascha Fenestras closing out the top 10. Jean-Eric Verne also for DS Penske in P11. McLaren drivers struggling a bit in that session. Rene Rast, Jake Hughes, P12 and P14. The Mahindra Racing drivers, Oliver Rowland, Lucas de Grassi. You could hear the frustration in Lucas's voice as his hot lap was scuppered, unfortunately, due to a bit of traffic from Kelvin van der Linde. But there we go. I'm sure time will only tell if they can make it back in the qualifying session that will get underway in just a couple of hours' time. Now, this is, well, this is quite a critical time, actually, between the FP2 and qualifying. There's not a huge amount of time. What have we got? Less than 2 hours before we're back for the group session starting. But there will be plenty of data analysis going on. Dan giving a little smile there, I think, to the camera. Probably pleased with his achievements today.
I'd say so.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. Should give himself a pat on the back. But yeah, it all comes down to qualifying ultimately. Right, okay, so here is a bit of a replay of what went earlier.
Dan Tixon's new helmet there on display.
Ooh, very nice.
Neo ER9.
Oh, Edo Mortara there looking nice and quick.
And Nick Cassidy behind.
So, are we going to see them on the podium?
I don't know, I think they've got a good chance. They've got a good chance. And there's the man himself. Team very pleased with him. Race engineers giving him a thumbs up.
Oh, what was he saying? Can't quite hear. But lots of smiles.
Let's take a look at this lap.
Right, this. Oh, what a mega lap there. So really pushing it to the limit, Nick Cassidy. Luckily didn't do what Webby did yesterday.
We've got a slight
Stopped on track.
issue here for...
Antonio Felix da Costa by the looks.
Yeah, it stopped on track. Interesting. I mean, in all things considered, not a terrible session for the Tag Heuer Porsche team. You know, P7, P9, it's sort of been where they've been, there or thereabouts, and they've just tried to maximise that one lap in the next session qualifying. But quick look at how all things played out.
Yes, so let's have a quick recap of what happened during the course of this session. Our first FP2 session to ever take place on the streets of Cape Town, just around the corner from the waterfront. It was a good start for the Jaguar TCS drivers, both Mitch Evans and Sam Bird out of the blocks looking pretty racy. The Mahindra drivers slightly struggled during the course of this session. Ooh, there we go.
And there you go, there's a big Sergio Sette camera spin and lock up there, keeping himself out of trouble. Now on board with Edoardo Mortara. I love this angle. Just see how fast this circuit is. It looks fantastic. Back to the Jaguar.
And again,
turn one drama.
Caught out Oliver Rowland yet again. It's going to be interesting what happens in the course of the race, because it's not going to be quite so easy to do a little 360. So Lucas Di Grassi is this one who is about to get caught up in the traffic ahead.
Not over the moon with Kelvin van der Linde there.
No, unfortunately not. The locals should know better. But, you know, to be fair, Kelvin's hit the ground running with this season, his rookie season, replacing the seat for Robin Freins as his hand is almost recovered after the accident early on in the season. Thinking of you, Robin. Wish you were here. You were supposed to be here. Why didn't you come? And there we are. Tense moments from team principal Sylvain Filippi, wondering what his driver's going to do today. But hopefully he's very happy with that result for Nick Cassidy.
Mortara and Cassidy there, the two top drivers in this session, both looking very quick. But where it all counts is in the sessions to come.
Well, there you have it. What an incredible view there of the racetrack here in Cape Town, the 31st venue to host a Formula E race. Absolutely stunning. Oh, they've got the greatest view in the house. Can we go and find their little spot for later? Right, we'll come and join them for a glass of sparkling water. Anyway, do join us later as we will be heading into qualifying for the first time here in Cape Town for the ABB FIA Formula E Prix.